Sierra chart and all its robustness gives all traders from beginner to pro so many options when it comes to placing trades inside of the platform. So in this video, I'm going to go over some of those key order types and the functionality of placing trades inside of Sierra charts. And also shout out to Graham for leaving a comment that sparked this upgraded version of this video right here, where I talk about scaling in and out of trades. I'm going to go a little bit deeper in that, and let's just get right into it. All right, so to be clear, I'm not going to talk about any particular strategy in this video. This is more so about the functionality of Sierra chart and the different order types and how just to place orders inside of the platform. All right, so before we get started with placing orders inside of the platforms, you first should understand the different types of orders that you can actually place, just period, within trading, right? So basically, you're gonna have three types of orders, okay? You're gonna have either a market order, you're gonna have a limit order, or you're gonna have a stop order, okay? Those are the basic three orders that you're gonna be dealing with, okay? So basically, a market order is you're just telling the market that I want to trade this asset here and just fill me at the best price when it's my turn. That's all the market order is, okay? So that one's simple. All right, so the other type of market order that I'm going to talk about is a limit order. And basically what a limit order is, you're specifying what price you would like or better, right? So let me go ahead and give an example. I'm going to use this area right here to go over these examples. So let me go ahead and bring up replay mode and we'll get into this next part. All right, so let's just say, for instance, I'm interested in taking a trade at 11,448, okay? And if I place in a limit order right there at 11,448, what's going to happen is I'm telling the market that I want 11,448 or better. So in this scenario, I'm going to be a buyer. All right, I'm trying to take a long and profit above 11,448. So best price or better would be 11,448 and anything below that, right? So with the market, with the current price where it is now, if I place a limit order right here at 448, then it's gonna fill me immediately, pretty much, okay? So this is why it's important to understand the different types of orders and make sure that you use the right order type depending on whatever you're trying to do. But if I wanted to, let's just say in another situation, I wanted to take the pullback and I want to go ahead and place this order, this resting order, as a pullback to 436, and I place a limit there, I'm not going to get filled until price pulls back to 436, okay? So just as an example, I have two ways by the way that I have my Sierra chart set up where I can place orders. One is I can right click here and I can use one of these shortcuts to place an order, right? And another way, I can use this order window over here. So for this example, I'm going to use this order window and I'm going to place a limit order at 436, right? So I got limit set here. You see there's a lot of different order types in here. I'm not going to go into detail about all of these. I will touch on some of these, but for this video, I'm only going to touch on the basic stuff, okay? And then I want to also make sure I have my quantity set, and then time of force. That's all that stuff is basic information. Time of force is just telling you how long you want the order to sit there before the order just goes away on its own, right? So here we go. I got a limit at 11,436 and I'm going to place buy. So you can see here, it has the orders just sitting here and we call this a resting order. So this is a resting order. You can either place a resting order or you can, what I call, hit the button. When the current price trades to the price that you're interested in executing on, and then you press the button to whatever you're trying to, however you're trying to execute. So for example, let's say, again, with this 436, I'm interested in executing along at 436. If I didn't want to, place a resting limit order there, I can just wait for price to trade back down to 436, and then I can hit the buy button by either buying the market or the ask or the bid. So I'm gonna get into that part a little bit later, but that's the difference between a resting order and then what I refer to as hit the button. Okay, now so back to this example, you can see there when I placed that limit order at 436, nothing happened. We need price to actually trade back there before we're filled, right? Now if I wanted to place that limit order again at 448. And for this example, what I'm just going to right click just so you can see the difference, or you can see the different ways that you can go about placing a trade inside a Sierra chart. I'm going to use my shortcut here, and I'm going to buy limit. You can see my crosshairs are on 448, and I'm going to buy limit. And from there, you can see that I got filled immediately. That's because I told the market that I want 448 or better, and then better actually ended up being 441 and a quarter, okay, or 441 and a half. You can see it over here, right? So that's just the basic functionality of a limit order. Now, let's just say, let me go ahead and hit flat on that. Now, let's just say I don't want for my order to be executed until it touches 448, right? So the way that I would do that is I would use the stop order, okay? And it's pretty much the same thing, except better is actually above whatever the price that you told the market that you want them to execute your order. So if I go in here and I change this to stop, and let me put it to 448, right? And now I hit buy. It's going to be like when I use the limit order for the pullback. It's just going to sit there until price trades up to 448, right? And then better would be, so I could catch some slippage and I could actually get filled in at 448 and a half or 449, right? Usually with futures, you don't have that much slippage. So, it may be a few ticks to, maybe a point or two. But, that's the difference between placing a stop order or placing a limit order. And of course, it's going to be the inverse for if I'm trying to short, right? Let's just say I'm trying to take a short at 432. If I don't want that my order to be executed until it reaches 432, then I will place a sell stop. And you see, I placed the order and it doesn't get filled yet until it reaches the price that I told the market to execute my order, right? Now, if I wanted that price or better in terms of the short, then I could place an order at the same price but as a sell limit. So in that case, you see it fill me again right away just because I don't have the charts moving. So it will be pretty much market but not beyond the price that I told the market to execute my order. Okay, all right, so let me go ahead and flatten that. So that is the core difference between a stop order and a limit order. And it's really important to understand those differences so that you make sure that you use the right order type depending on what you're trying to do, right? And we make mistakes. I make mistakes a lot. Well, not a lot. I make mistakes from time to time where I will hit the wrong button and then I will, get triggered into a trade that I don't want to be in at that moment. And then, which also is important to know how to use the functionalities or how to use the tools inside of the platform to be able to respond to those mistakes. So now that I know which order I need to do in order to achieve whatever goal I'm trying to achieve, then I can quickly respond when I make a mistake and make the right action. And then I can start over again, resettle myself, and then start making the right actions again. All right. So those are the difference between the stop order and a limit order. So the next part of this is, let's just say I don't want to use a resting order and I want to hit the button, right? So that means I just want to wait until until the current price gets to where I'm looking to execute, and then I want to be the one to execute in that moment, right? So what you can do is you could use a market order, right? But you're at the mercy of the market. And with market orders, you're typically put in the back of the line with everybody else who placed limit and stop orders, right? Who told the market, I want this price or better. When you put a market order in, you're telling the market, fill me wherever, just get me into this position, right? Just execute my order. I don't care about the price. If you want to be a little more refined, what you would do is you would use the information that the market already has as a shortcut to telling the market a specific price that you want your order to be executed, right? All right, so those are some nice words, but how do I actually go about doing that? Glad you asked. All right, so the way that you would do that is you would use the ask and the bid, okay? And that's a way of just hitting the button, but without putting yourself at the mercy of the market. Just as you can feel me that whatever the current price is, if I tried to go in and I tried to enter in on a market order. Okay, so let's just say again, price is traded to a point where I want to buy, but I want to be a little bit more specific, but not too specific. All right, so what I'll do is I can either buy the ask or buy the bid. So bringing this quote board over here, and I want to focus specifically right here to the bid and the ask prices. So what this is, these are prices that pretty much, a simpler way of putting it, these are prices that have already been sent to the market where by other participants that are telling the market that they are looking to execute at these prices, right? So in this situation here, a bid would be buyers and the ask would be sellers. Okay, I'm sticking surface level here. I'm not going too deep into the bid and the ask. We're just going to stay at surface level to explain this for order execution. So if I wanted to buy and I wanted to tell the market that I want to buy at a price that a seller has already shown interest in selling, then I would buy the ask, right? So the ask is the seller. The ask price that we see here, a seller has already told the market that I'm interested in selling at that price, right? And if I wanted to, let's say I wanted to kind of jump on the bandwagon of other buyers and I wanted to tell the market, okay, whatever other buyers have told you that they're willing to buy, I'm also willing to buy at that specific price as well. So then in that situation, you would buy the bid. Okay, so there's different scenarios of why you would want to go with one versus the other. Let's just say if you wanted the absolute best price, you would probably pick, you would probably buy the bid. But if you wanted to increase the chances of your order being filled, you would buy the ask, because you're already confirming that you're willing to buy at the other side of your trade, right? No matter, whatever that seller wants to sell at, you're willing to buy it. That's basically what you're telling the market. So that's the main key difference between, the buy and the ask. And of course, it'll be the reverse for if I'm trying to take a short. Now, typically, because I'm looking more for speed, I don't want to use a market order. I typically buy the ask and I sell the bid. But again, that's not going to fit everyone's situation. But that's just what I do. All right. So now we understand the difference between executing an order using the buy and the ask, and then we also understand the different types of orders where we can use to execute our orders. All right. So there's one more layer to this that I want to go into, and that is using OCO orders. So now we want to talk about taking profit and placing our stop loss. All right. So for these OCO orders, OCO just stands for one cancels the other. Okay. That's all it stands for. And basically what it means is when I enter into a trade or when I place a trade, I'm going to at the same time also tell the market where I'm looking to take profit. And I'm also at the same time going to tell the market where I'm looking to accept a loss. Okay. Now I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into that, a little bit later, but let's go ahead and let me show you how to set this up. So inside a Sierra chart, to set that up, this is also known as a bracket order. You'll go to targets. And let me remove all of this so we can go from scratch. And what I want to do is I want to set my target for my profit and then my stop loss. So I just hit add. The first one to come up is your target. And then you will make sure, I want to do this in ticks. I like to set mine in ticks. You also have percentage or percent and price offset. And you got this one right here. And then you'll select your type. I'm trying to set my target. So we got target, and I'm going to use a limit order for the target. And then we have the offset. So this is basically how many points or how many ticks away from your entry are you looking to take profit. So let's say in this instance, I want to go with 80 ticks for my profit. And up here, once you put all your settings in, it'll show you how many ticks it is and per quantity what the profit will be in the currency. So this is $40, right? So 80 ticks. If I get an 80 tick win, that's going to equal $40 for me, right? And then the last part you want to pay attention to is this group, this OCO group. You can either place your OCOs in separate groups, or you can go in here. So you got 8 different groups you can set your OCOs in, or you can just put them all in the same group, right? And if you're going to do it, you're going to set the different groups, you have the quantity right there. Okay. Now, there's so many more settings that you can set, but we're just gonna stick to the basics here, all right? And then the next one, so that's my profit. Now I wanna set my stop loss. So I just hit add again, and you see it already is setting me up to add my stop loss in there. It put my offset at ticks. The type is stop, right? The type of order that I want to include in this OCO is a stop with a stop order, okay? So let's just say I want to take my stop at, let's just go half of that. Let's just go 40 ticks, okay? And then I want to go ahead and put them in the same group just for this example. And now, so we have that set. But if I just go here and I just try to place an order, let me go ahead and place a stop order. Let me place it right here. A buy stop. You see, it doesn't, it should show up on the charts here. Well, in order to get it to show up on the charts, I'm going to cancel that. I will have to use attached orders. And then now if I place a stop order to enter, a buy stop there, now you'll see my bracket order, my OCO orders to take profit and to accept or take a stop loss, or have my, to take a stop, right? All right, so that's the basic functionality of how to place an OCO order. All of this stuff is quite simple. Now again, this is Sierra chart. You can go so much more deeper with it. There's so much more you can do with it, but you should understand the basics of it first, and then, then you can start playing around with other stuff, okay? All right, so the next part that we're going to talk about is now we're going to get into scaling and how you could go about scaling, using everything that we talked about before. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and cancel this out, and we're going to get to this next part. All right, so if you have any questions up to this point, just go ahead and leave those in the comment section below, and then I can make a shorter video explaining, the part that you need more help with, or more information on, right? All right, so now we're going to go through an example of how we can use these different order types and also scale in and out of a trade. All right, so for this example, I'm going to place a stop order, right, at 444, right? So I'm telling the market that I want to buy at 444 or better, right? Understanding also that I could catch some slippage, right? And with slippage, I've mentioned it before. One thing that I will mention, one key thing to understand is you will rarely, if ever, get positive slippage. So what do I mean by that? When I place the limit order, if I did a limit order at 444, a buy limit, then I'm going to get that price or better, meaning if my order comes up on the books before price gets to 444, and let's just say it's at 442 now, I'm going to get filled at 442. However, if I place a stop, that's probably not going to happen. What'll probably happen is my order will get triggered as a limit order at 444, but I could catch slippage to where I actually get 444 and a half, right? Or 445. I've been at this for a while and I've never seen it go the other way. So that's just something to be aware of when you're trying to decide if you want to use a limit order versus a stop order, okay? Now, let me go ahead and set this example up, and I'm going to set it up using the OCO orders. And I'm also going to, for this example, I'm going to change my quantity to 3. And these quantity buttons here are just some shortcut buttons that you can set up yourself. You just go in here into set, and you can change those quantity buttons to whatever you want them to be. All right. So let me go back to main. And I got this set at 3. And what I'm going to do is place a buy stop right there at 444. Okay. And let's say I want my target here and all that there. Now let's say I don't want to just wait for price to get all the way to my target before I take a little bit off of my position, right? Until I start to scale out of my position, right? So inside a Sierra chart, you can also scale. We know that from the video that I mentioned at the beginning of this video, right? The older video about scaling in and out of trades inside a Sierra chart. So the first thing I want to be aware of is, do I have my chart set up that will allow me to appropriately scale in and out of a trade? So how I want to check that out is I want to go inside the menu, this little M button here. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to go to orders, and I want to make sure these two are checked, right? Support scale in and support scale out. All right. So what'll happen if I don't have those checked. As I start to, let me go ahead and play this and so we can get a feel. All right, so you can see my profit and my stop loss orders. The quantity is set to 3, right? So if I try to take one off here, what'll happen is if I don't have those checked, then my position quantity, it'll change. Let's say if I take one off and now I have a position quantity of 2, that will change, but my profit taking order and my stop loss order won't change. So if I'm not aware of that and price trades up to and takes me, it hits my profit, it's actually going to put me short one contract because I had, I had one extra left over from this profit taking order, right? So I want to make sure that those are checked so that when I scale in and out of these positions, that my profit taking orders and my stop loss orders also change with my position size. So I'm not getting into orders or getting into positions that I don't want to be in. All right, so let's say, let me go ahead and hit play. All right, let's say I want to take some off right there. Now, there's 2 ways I can go about doing this. I can either use a resting order or I can hit the button, right? So if I want to scale one out with a resting order, I want to make sure we go back and set our quantity over here in our trade window to 1, right? And then I can use a shortcut or I can place, I can set things up over here in the trade window. I'm just going to use a shortcut for example purposes. And let's say I want to take off 1 right here, 447.5. And the order type that I'm going to use is I'm going to use a sell limit, right? Because now we're selling. So best price or better, or that price or better for a sale would be 447.5 or higher. So I'm going to go ahead and place that sell limit for 1. All right, and see now we've taken off 1. I have a position size of 2, and then my stop loss and my main profit taking orders, the quantity is also changed to 2, right? Now, if I wanted to get really fancy with this and, if I wanted to scale in another one after I took that profit, let's say if I want to scale in one more, if price pulls back, what I can do is I could place a buy limit down here at a lower price. For this example, it's going to be 440.25, right? And if price trades back to 440.25, it'll put me, it'll scale me back in that one that I just took out as for a quick profit, right? So that's just kind of, going into different scenarios and different examples to illustrate the functionality of how scaling in and out works. Okay, so I think that should be pretty clear. And I went into, into depth with that in the previous video. So, if you got any more questions about that, just leave those in the comment section below. And, I don't want to make this video too long. So let's go ahead and move to the next thing that I want to talk about, which is a bonus tip. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and hit play. And let's just say I want to go ahead and end this trade without hitting the flat. So I have several ways that I can just end this position. If I just want to get out as soon as possible, I can just flatten the position, or since I'm buying, of course I will need to sell to close the position. So I can either sell the bid or I can sell the ask. All right. So for this example, or I can sell market. For this example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell at the bid, just for this example. All right. So you see what I did, and what I forgot to do there on purpose is I forgot to reset the quantity. So you got to make sure you pay attention to your quantities before you're placing these different trades so that you execute the way that you're trying to execute. All right. So let me go ahead and just completely kill that. All right. So I had this one extra order out here to scale into the position. So I got to make sure also that I clear out all of the other orders unless I want to take this now as a new trade, right? So I can use this cancel all button right there, and that'll clear out all of the orders that I still have out there within Sierra chart to execute an order. All right. So the last part of this is I want to give a bonus tip, which could be pretty significant, right? It's kind of a controversial type of thing, but we're not going to get into all of that. I just want to show one other order type that you can use within Sierra Chart. Now, all platforms that do not have this. This is something that very few platforms have, but Sierra Chart has it. All right, so let's go ahead and get into that. All right, so when you place a limit order inside of Sierra Chart, what will happen is your limit order will go to your broker and go to the market as a resting order that you're telling the market that you're ready to execute at that price. Now, there's a belief that when you do that, you're giving the market makers your orders and they can use it to their advantage and all that stuff, right? So that's a belief. I'm not saying that belief is right or wrong or good or bad. I'm just saying it's a belief. So if you want to kind of get around that, Sierra Chart made it possible for you to use these different order types. One of those being limit if touched. Okay. So what a limit or touch order will do is it'll place your resting order where you tell it to. So let's just say I want to go long again. If we make it back down to 448, right? And I'm going to place, there you go, 448. And I'm going to place this order at 448. Now, when I place this order at 448, and let me remove my OCOs here, just so that we stay clear. I'm going to remove use attached orders. Now, when I place this order here as a limit if touched, it didn't go all the way to the market, right? In theory, it's supposed to go to the server side, which will be your broker, and it sits on you at your broker. And then once price reaches 448, then it will be sent to the market to be, executed, right? So it's going to put you a little bit, lower in line to, be executed. So anyone that already sent their limit orders to the market, they're going to be ahead of you. But if you want to stay a little bit more obscure with what you're doing, then this is one method, and that slight delay could be worth it, right? So if that's still too much for you and you want to have your order a little bit more hidden, but you don't want to just be hitting the button all session, you want to use these resting orders, another option that you have is you can use this limit if touch client, right? So let me put with this one, let me go with, what's that, 448. Let me go with 440. That's fine, 440 and 3/4, right? So when I place this order, now you can see 440 and 3/4. You can see that as held. So what that means is that order is resting here on my Sierra Chart platform on my computer. It didn't get sit anywhere. So it's going to sit here on my computer until, on the client side, until price trades down to 440 and 3/4, and then it'll get sent out to the market to where I'm telling the market, now I'm ready to execute this limit order at 440 and 3/4. All right. So that's, there's a different types of orders that you can use, depending on what you're trying to do. Right. And that can be a pretty helpful tip depending on how seen you're trying to be when you're out here executing your orders for whatever reason. Right. All right. So that's just a basic breakdown of the different order types that you have within Sierra Chart and how to, a little bit of the functionality of how you can use those different order types. If you're interested, I can make a more advanced video a little bit later, down the road. If you're interested in that, just let me know in the comment section below. And if there's something specific that you want me to touch on that I can make a shorter video on, just let me know that in the comment section below as well. If you found this helpful, just go ahead and hit the like button. That way I know that I'm making content that you want to see. And with all that being said, I hope you found this helpful, and I'll see you on the next one. Trade it easy.